Namaste. Raghuram ji, speak Raghuram ji once.
Hello. Namaste.
Is he heard? Can you
hear?
give?
Yes, he's audible.
Okay, good. Yes. Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have various texts, various books, like Vedas are there, Upanishads are there, and then Gita is there, and Puranas are there, so many texts are there. So normally what we try to do is that we pick up one text or the other and then talk about it. But it is not just only these texts, but this particular culture is so vast that apart from literature, so many things that are there in this culture. So people will have questions about these particular, the whole thing about all this culture. So that is the reason why I thought that I take up the discussion on Sanathana Dharma. Because all these things belong to Sanathana Dharma. And unfortunately, this Dharma is translated as religion. And then they call it as Hindu religion. But we should come out of that slavery of calling it as Hindu religion. And we should come out into Sanatana Dharma as our culture that has been there. And this culture, Sanatana Dharma, is something which is so variety in its application. Like, for example, we have various regions, various languages, various customs, everything is so different in this culture. And which is, in fact, somebody was saying that there are 47 ways of wearing a dhoti in this particular case. So if you take just one small little idea, wearing a dhoti, you see that such variety is there. And somebody who has gone around this culture to look at what is this culture about this particular place, it's Vivekananda. Before he went on abroad, he went around the whole country, various places. He met with the people, he met with the cultures that is there, and then went to USA and presented the ideas at the Parliament of World Religions. And there he is the person, he presented in his talk first to start with that I am bringing the greetings from the most ancient culture, from the most to the youngest of the countries, America. So after that, one of the press reporters asked Vivekananda that you said the most ancient culture. He said that this culture is at the more than 10,000 year old and it is vibrant. He just said in a very simple sentence, but it makes a very deep meaning. And then she asked the question. When she asked that question, why do you say that most ancient culture it is? You see, when there were other cultures who were born and then died. Like, for example, Mesopotamian culture, Babylonian culture, the Greek culture, and all that. They were earlier one time vibrant, but then they lost their existence now. Whereas this culture was much before that started. and then it is still vibrant. That means whatever that we are starting about, Sahana Bhavatu, 7,000 years ago, people used to sing the same way, and today also we sing. So that means it's ever existing, it's continuing. And she asked another very fundamental question: what is the basis of what is that because of which this culture survived? Is that it is the spirituality. So, in a very simple sense, we should say every other culture's the core of the culture is within the material world, whereas the core of this culture is outside the material world. Spiritual is actually outside the material world. But that's a very simple statement, but there is a very deep meaning in that. So this culture survived for several thousands of years. So we try to understand this culture. So, and variety that is there. Now this culture to understand, it's so difficult because, as I said, that there are so many Vedas that are there, 4 Vedas are there, and then Upanishads are there, and together with that there are 18 Puranas are there. So like that, when you go on to the literature about this particular culture, there are tons and tons of literature that is there. And they knew that this is the part of this culture, this literature that we have. So there were people who attacked this culture by wanting to remove this literature of this culture. So one way they tried to remove is that in Khilji has burned the whole library that was there in Nalanda. Nalanda was supposed to be the central university where this knowledge has come from. So therefore, burned the library in Nalanda University, and that burning, it's almost like in through 2 installments, 3 months each, that was burning. You can just imagine how much of literature is burnt off. But in spite of the fact all that literature is burnt off, today, whatever the remaining knowledge that is there, one's lifetime is not sufficient to know about this knowledge. So this is another important aspect of it. And this culture, as I said, that Sanatana Dharma is not like religion, because the very definition of a religion is that it's one book and one prophet, and his God's words recorded by the prophet, and one God is there. And that is the definition for which Christianity is found. That's the same thing which is Islam has been found. Whereas in this culture, when you come to, you see that the number of people, there are so many people who have contributed to this culture that it's not one author, it's not one saint. And not only that, the saint keep coming time and again, number of them will be coming and then giving the ideas. And then they're all respected. The second thing is the number of books that we have, literature that we have. All these things are there. And one God in heaven. And we have, not only that we have tons of God, but we also have this culture, no belief of God also is all right part of this particular culture. Like Buddha was so respected in this culture, but he said that there is no God. That's why H.G. Wells, when he wrote about Buddha, H.G. Wells says that a person who denied God is a godly person, and that's what is Buddha. And so Buddha said at least Atma. But then Mahavir came and said Atma is also not there, God is also not there. So there is another philosophy that is there. But they're all part of this particular culture. They're not coming from anywhere outside. And we have assimilated all those things. We have that large heart to assimilate everything because we can explain, we can give an idea about all these things. In fact, this is what at Vivekananda at one time, he said to the Christian missionaries, if we had little more patience, we could have easily accepted Jesus Christ as one of our incarnations. So it was so easy for us because we have so many saints, so many people that are there. It's all right if he's giving some message which is worth accepting it, we take that message. And in fact, that's one of the reasons also that just wanted to assimilate these ideas into this particular culture without any opposition. For that, probably Mahatma Gandhi also tried. Raghupati Raghava Rajaram, Patita Pavana Sitaram, Ishvara Allah Teruna. He just joined Allah also as equality Ishvara. A lot of people have objection for that. But I say that it's one of the attempts that made to see how we bring about these things. didn't want to damage this particular culture. So Alauddin, Khilji's time, then he tried to burn all the literature. Again and again, the attempts have been made. Like, for example, later on, it was the time of Macaulay, he said that Max Muller, he said, this particular literature doesn't belong to this land at all, this culture at all. So Vedas are brought from somewhere outside. Euphrates Tigris River area, somebody brought this literature, it is here. So attempts have been made, but in spite of it, nothing has changed. It might have been there, it created some kind of a stir for some time, but again, people say, laugh at the whole thing because part of this culture. So this is the reason why, what is that which runs this particular thing? That's what we need to understand. So Sanatana actually means, people call it as ancient, therefore it is Sanatana. It is not ancient, it is ever existing. Puratana is ancient. Puratana means something which has happened long time ago. Like, for example, our excavations are there. Their Puratana structures are there. But then culture has been there from that time to this time. Like, for example, Puratana. Like, for example, our archaeological people that they have found out a Shiva temple, which was a Brahma's temple somewhere, and all those things which are about 8,000 year old, 7,000 year old, all that they say. Temple must have been old, but then the Brahma concept is there even till today. Krishna's concept is vibrant today. So that means to say the temple is archaeological, but then the concept of idea that's behind it, the Krishna, the God, he is a temple. So that's why Puratana, it's not Puratana, temple may be Puratana, but the concept of God is Sanatana. Sanatana means at that time it was there, even today it is there. In spite of the fact that people became modern thinking, this, that, they also gave various theories saying that the God was basically originally formed because of the fear of nature. So therefore that nature has been given as God. Like, for example, wind God, rain God, all these things, because that they were devastating. And that might have been the Western way, Western culture that has been developed. Other places it has been developed, but not in this country. In this culture, it was not like that, because the same texts which have held sun as a god also gave us the distance of the earth from the sun. So that means to say they scientifically knew about it. There's nothing to be afraid of. Similarly, these people, they know how to drain the river. There were so many ideas that are there, how to drain the river, to see that how we can make use of it. So that means to say we never called river as God just because that we were afraid. And second thing is that, all right, nature's laws, like for example, thunders and this and that, you call it God. But we called a plant as a God, Tulsi plant as a God. So that means to say what is there, you should be afraid of. So this God concept is something which is there in this culture, not born out of fear, but it is part of this culture itself. And then another important aspect why this Sanatana Dharma is ever existing. You see, Dharma actually means the nature. Dharma means, like for example, Dharma of the fire is to burn. Dharma of the water is to wet. This is what is Dharma. The Dharma is the essential quality of that particular element. So when you say Dharma of the fire is to wet, fire burns in India, doesn't burn in America. Fire doesn't burn in Africa. It's nothing like that. Everywhere it burns. Similarly, water wets anywhere it is. So therefore, it means it is a dharma which if it is a dharma which is applicable to the human being in this particular culture, it should apply everywhere also. See, whether it is in America. So that means to say a religion is particularly in an area, whereas Sanatana Dharma doesn't confine itself to any particular area. So Sanatana, in my sense, my feeling is not only transcends the time, it transcends the space. That means the geographical boundaries. So when we look at that way, then Sanatana Dharma exists whether you are in America, whether you are here. Only thing is, there is another important aspect is, The very fact that it exists when there is absolutely no physical, material development, but today there is so much of material development, Dharma continues. That means it could easily adjust itself over the changing period of time. If it can adjust like this, it could adjust when you go from India to America or Africa. We should be able to use this particular principle. So only thing is we need to appropriate. It does not mean that Sanatana Dharma exists only within India. Our people going abroad, they have to be able to adapt the same Sanatana Dharma in the way that it is useful in their particular culture. In fact, that's what Shasiji always used to say. Oh, you are so spiritual, you are Vedanta, you are interested in Vedanta. People used to come for satsang and all that during his time. And they said, now I'm posting in America, I have to go there. He said, please go and take this Dharma with you so that you can know how to change it to you, changing situations. So this adaptability is something which makes it Sanatana. So this adaptability is something which is very important, essential feature of this particular Dharma, Sanatana Dharma. So therefore, Sanatana does not mean only the time ever existing, but it also existing for the mankind. So Sanatana Dharma is for me, Sanatana Dharma is for, and there is another thing. The Sanatana Dharma includes right from the child all the way to the elderly people. So does not apply, it applies only to some age group. It's not there. It has, for every age group, it is there. In fact, so beautifully organized in Sanatana Dharma, that age group, that they provided a nice, wonderful platform to see that how you graduate to the next age group. That means basically that, brahmachari ashrama, the qualities later on we'll go into the explanation of it, but the details that are given in brahmachari ashrama is to see that you graduate into grihastha. And grihastha details are given in such a way, and you follow the principles which are given in grihastha, it will automatically graduate into vanaprastha. And vanaprastha will automatically take you to sanatana. It's not that you have to leave the house and then go somewhere else. It's all within the personality itself, how the change has to take place. It's a graduating. So it's a progress that is path that is given. So if this progress is not given, then what happens is that you get stuck up at one level or the other. At the child level, you get stuck up. Then adult level, you will not be able to accept it. Many people get stuck up at the adult level and they abhor becoming old because the next level becomes difficult for them. It looks like that then it's an insult for them. In fact, I have seen several people, when somebody says that, oh, his grandfather should, becomes so violent. Why am I grandfather? I'm still young. You are 50 years and then you still feel young. Yeah, 50 years is young here in America. People say that. I mean, you don't gracefully graduate into the next level. So this is what is basically the way that it is. Sanatana Dharma occupies everything, not only human being, because human being is the highest degree of consciousness. We'll talk about it later. So it takes care of all the other levels also, because the simple thing that Sanatana Dharma says that you have evolved through all those species. In fact, our Dashavatara actually gives us the evolution process. Right from the mother, in the mother's womb, you are in the water, and that's what is the fish and turtle and this and that and all that. You've grown up into Krishna. And so this is what is the growth process that takes place in the case of Sanatana Dharma. So therefore that we need to understand what is Sanatana Dharma. And this particular series of talks I wanted to give only because that to go into those texts, as I said, it's humanly impossible to learn what all those things unless until you go and fix yourself in some ashram learning process that has to go on and all that. It cannot apply to the day-to-day life. But the whole idea of Sanatana Dharma is for the mankind. And there are people who have really given these ideas at the mankind, and again they come and see that how it can be designed for the human being. So, in fact, we have such a beautiful example how Dharma to be reset. And in fact, two major personalities who established the Dharma, reset of this Dharma. one is Rama and the other is Krishna. So to re-establish Dharma at that point of time, it was very much necessary. And that's the reason why when, story of Ramayana, Vishwamitra comes to Dasharatha and then says that please send Rama to me because my yaga he has to protect. And he's a Kshatriya, he has to protect. So otherwise I can give Shapa and finish them. But that is his job. I don't want to step into somebody else's job. And he says that Rama is depressed, he cannot come. So then he says, what's the reason why Rama should be depressed? He called Rama, and then Rama described about his condition. Definitely it was a case of depression and dejection. And then he says that this problem Rama has, only Vasishtha can give an answer for that. And therefore this text of Yoga Vasishtha has come up. And the benefit of that Yoga Vasishtha was, the teachings of Vasishtha was, at the end of it, Rama was prepared to go with Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra took him to his ashram, and first day when he woke him up, and that's when Vishwamitra says to Rama, Kausalya Supraja Rama Purva Sandhya Pravartate Uttishta Narashartula Kartavyam Daivamanikam. That means to say you get up for Daivamanikam Kartavyam. That means to say you have to establish Dharma. That's what is Daiva. So for that you get up. And you can see from that time onwards, the way that Rama conducted himself is to re-establish Dharma. The same way in the case of Krishna also. Krishna wanted somebody to re-establish Dharma. He was there behind it. And then he selected that, I cut down the whole story, he selected the Pandavas and then brought them out. They were incognito and then brought them out and trained Arjuna and tried the Pandavas and all that. After all those things in the war field, at that point of time, Arjuna says that I don't want to fight the war. I will become a sannyasi, I go down. My God. The whole problem started beginning. And therefore, then Bhagavad Gita started. And the whole of Bhagavad Gita, at the end of it, Krishna says to Arjuna, do whatever you want to do it. Yathechasi tathakum. And Arjuna fights the war. So that means to say, it is re-establishing of Dharma or beginning of a new era. That's what is Yuga. At that time, it is Treta Yuga, and this is the Kali Yuga. So beginning of that happens with the Mahabharata war. Means the whole Dharma has been re-established. So this is what basically Dharma is being established. And that's again and again, our scriptures say, Manu says about that, saying that wherever Dharma declines, you need to bring about. That's why Dharma eva hato hantihi nako dharmo hato vadit. Tasmat dharma nahantavya dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. So that's what is the idea that Manu brings about it. There are several shlokas like that which talk about again and again that we re-establish Dharma. So that means it's vibrant. This was not there in the case of other cultures. Therefore, basically, the other cultures ruined. Now you see in Greek, there is no Greek culture. In Roman, there is no Roman culture. And all those Incas and Wiccan, their cultures were not there. But this culture was there. On the other hand, when I said that this culture, Sanathana Dharma belongs to all over the world, you can see that traces of that, even in America, in Europe and all that, people these days are finding that these things were there, these concepts were there in the other cultures also, other places also that were there. So therefore, Sanatana Dharma, what is this Sanatana Dharma that we need to understand? So therefore, this Sanatana Dharma is necessary to understand about the Sanatana Dharma. And third important thing is that because we are particularly particular area, particular way of growth, development from the childhood and all that, there are certain practices which are part of the Sanatana Dharma. And we hold on to those practices. And if anybody goes outside that practice, then we get immediately worried about this Sanatana Dharma. Is it maintained or is it going, is it in danger? All these things come up. Look at our acharyas, how beautifully that they have tried to extol every kind of level of feeling that is there. In this Sanatana Dharma itself, we have what is called Advaita, the duality. We also have Advaita, and we also have Visishta Advaita. So therefore, basically, all these concepts are there from this culture itself. And there are people who believe in God, people who don't believe in God. So all these things will bring about the importance of Sanatana Dharma So that's why I thought that this lecture series will try to work on all these aspects of Sanatana Dharma, whatever question that is there, we'll try to bring about. And another thing is, because of all these things, it's so complex. Unless we try to put that in the proper perspective, we will not be able to understand that. So that's why it's important. In fact, that putting in the proper perspective in a logical way is a part of this culture. That's why, like for example, matter can be anything in the matter. But in this culture, we were able to create a particular order saying that divide them into various groups and all those things. And that's what is we have created Sankhya philosophy. The whole Sankhya philosophy is trying to understand the matter in a proper way, like for example, Panchabhutas that come from the particular thing, Trigunas come from there, so that we can understand that. And another important aspect about is this culture has been so extraordinarily knit into the society that how many attacks have happened from outside. In spite of it, we survived. Both in terms of political attacks, like King's came and all that. Cultural attacks, as I said, all these things happened. In spite of it, we survived. In fact, attacks from the Christians, then Muslims, and then also that equally important is the communists and the former secularists. In spite of it, we survived. So that means there is something which is extraordinary, which really survived. And it has continued. And another very important thing is it's the only culture where we always allowed questioning, reasoning. In other cultures, you believe it. Like, for example, Virgin Mary has given birth to Jesus Christ. You can't question it. You have to accept. Somebody from sky, he has given some message, you accept it. In this culture, we cannot accept anything without question. Reasoning is so important. Reasoning is so important that we have created the whole philosophy of reasoning, and that's what is the Nyaya Shastra. Prashna. And in fact, if you are giving more, if you are asking more tough question, you are praised. The question is not mistaken. In fact, unfortunately, what happened is that if you question, people think that you are arrogant. It's not in our culture. In our culture, if you put tough question, the teacher does not have an answer. Then you say that I don't have an answer, let's go to our teacher. So we go to some different teacher and all that. So they try to do that. Ati prashnan pruchasi brahmishtosi, your interest is in. But they also said, what are the requirements for the questioning? So the depth of questioning has to be understood. And the question, not for question's sake, it has to, every question is like such an important tool. The questioning is such an important tool. If you use that questioning, it should really evolve a new theory, new idea for you, clarity for you. So these are the things which are part of this. So Sanatana Dharma is one thing where nothing is taken for out of belief. No gods, no nothing is taken out of belief. It's something very extraordinary. Even though we have that kind of a thing, we did not deny God. See, that's a beautiful thing. You have questioned all the ideas of God and this and that, but in spite of it, we have created 18 Puranas. Ashtadasha Purana, main Puranas that are there, all those things are there. Apart from that, there are several other things that are there. So that means that there is such a big depth in this particular culture. How can I give an art? See, if I do not use proper logic behind all these things, then if I accept the Puranas, I have to deny the people who don't believe in God. If I accept the God, then I have to deny Advaita philosophy, because Advaita says that you have God. So, you see, one you take, the other you have to deny it. Is there a logic? Is there a way that you can explain that all these things are put together? And a lot of times what happens is when the people question, they think that the question takes away that your religious practices that you're doing. The temples are becoming irrelevant. In fact, on the other hand, if you start questioning properly, understand properly, then the temples become more relevant and then purified. Whatever the temple that's going on now, we can actually purify those temples and create a whole new direction, give a whole new direction for these things. And this culture, as it is Sanatana Dharma, belongs to this to the day-to-day life. You see, often people think that there are religions which said that you practice certain religions so that you get the benefit in the heaven. And then heaven you are getting all those things. But then it's nothing to do with this. Here, this world, that what you need to do it according to this world. See, that means these two are disconnected. And Islam also is like that. Christianity is also like that. In fact, Bertrand Russell, he was very clear about that. He found the problem in Christianity about like that. So at the time of dying also, that at least now you are dying, you are going to heaven. So do you pray God now? And he said, if God exists, if God is listening to my prayer, if there is any heaven exists, if there is anything like that is there, if my death is final and I'm still alive to go somewhere else after the death, if all those things are there, then they thought, at least now you pray. He says, if all those things are there, why should I pray? Anyway, I'll go there. It's very difficult. So, Karl Marx also, Caste Confucius. So everybody denied about this God, because basically God is somewhere else and then something like that. It's never seen, never existed. Whereas in this culture, we questioned all those things, but at the same time, we established the position of God, the way that we can logically understand these things. It's an extraordinary thing that is there. And this is the most important aspect why we have to understand what is the Sanathana Dharma. Because all these things have to be understood. And as I said, that this Dharma entered into our day-to-day life. It's not removed. As I said, that Dharma existed somewhere else in the other cultures, other religions. This existed here itself. Like in your day-to-day practices, the food that you cook, the way that you live, the days you have, all these things are included in the Dharma itself. There is no way that your life and Dharma cannot be separated. Cannot be separated. In the way that they cannot be separated like this, the way that you can't even say Dharma is not there in the life. Dharma may not be there in the life, but Adharma is there in the life. See, in Mahabharata, such a beautiful incident that happens. The whole war is over, and then the final fight is going on between Bhima and Duryodhana. At that time, Duryodhana was brought out of the water, and then Bhima and Duryodhana fighting is going on. At that time, Balrama comes. And Krishna looks Balrama. Oh, so my dear brother, you are also here. Good morning. Yeah, I came. So, okay. And then fight is going on. And suddenly Krishna gives a instruction to Arjuna, hit him on his thigh. And then Arjuna hits him on his thigh. And because there are some reasons for which he has hit him. And immediately Duryodhana falls down. And then Balrama shouts, saying that, oh, this is Adharma Yuddha. There is no Dharma in that. You should not go below the waist. You should hit above this thing. With a mace, you should never hit below them. Oh, good morning. So you are here. Yeah, I came here because I wanted to see my disciple. He is my student and he is fighting, so I came here. And this is Adharma. I said, wow, all these days war was happening. Where were you? He said, no, I didn't want to interfere with this war because basically it's a war between the families, cousins. So I had nothing to do with it. And today, is not the war between the cousins? No, between my student. But Adharma Yuddha. All these days, Adharma Yuddha was going on. And you will never interfere with that. And today you are seeing Adharma. You see, you know very well that this is not a war between the two cousins, but it is a war between dharma and adharma. And you followed the whole history. What happened? Pandavas were dharmic, and Kauravas are dharma. And then all these things they brought to this level. You know very well all these things. So therefore, now it is actually dharma and adharma war. Suddenly you came here and saying that what is dharma? My dear brother, one thing that you should know, if you have not actively taken side of the dharma, you actually followed a dharma only. See, you can't escape from dharma without following dharma. You can't escape being neutral. You can only be adharmic. Like some dharma is happening. If you do not actively take the part of dharma, then you are adharmic only. So therefore, you cannot escape from that. So this is what. There is no way that you can get rid of dharma, because either in the form of dharma or adharma it will be there. Either way it will be there. So life is full of that. Life is dharmic and adharmic. If once we know that life is full of dharmic and adharmic, well, better we take the side of dharma. So in order to do that, we should know what is dharma. So therefore, it is relevant to understand what is dharma so that we have the side of it. Then, but do you mean to say that all these gods and goddesses, other worlds and all those things, they have got their relevant places, understanding. But we have to understand them properly to put them into the right perspective. So explaining all that, that means to say, explaining the world and before the death and after the life, after the death life, and then other worlds, everything that is there. That's why we need to understand the Sanathana Dharma. It's such a complex structure that is there. So unless until we understand that. Now there is another very important aspect about Dharma is that very fact that Sanatana Dharma survived for 10,000 years, 40,000 years more, and is going to survive. That means it sustains. And that's what is the meaning of Dharma. Dhara iti Dharma, that which sustains is Dharma. So it has to sustain. So what is that aspect which sustains the mankind in this particular thing? Not only mankind, it sustains all the creation itself. So therefore, Sanatana Dharma is something which is necessary for everybody to understand that. And from Dhara iti, see, earth supports us. That's why it is Dhartri. Dharma. All these things come from the same root. Dhru. Dhru is steady. And a tree which is steady. Now the question comes to this, another very important aspect comes, that is, a tree which has the roots at the deepest level is the tree which is the stablest against all the hurricanes and winds and all that. And this tree called Sanatana Dharma is something which has the deepest of the roots. That's why it cannot be easily changed. We have always this example of this tree. An example of this. That's why Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Urthumula Matashakam Ashwatham Prahuram. That means to say, it's a tree, but the model of this tree is like this. The roots are at the top. Urthumula Atashaka. Shaka is here. Shaka is at our available. So when we look at that, it's the Shaka, but the root is there at the Mula is there at the Chandansiyasya Paranari. All these things are various things. So now what has to happen is Dharma is at that level, the root level, and then the Shaka has all those rules and regulations and all that. We need to understand that. And this whole structure of tree, that when we understand that, then we see how deep this particular structure is. In this structure of this Dharma, which is there for almost like 10, 20,000 years old, out of age, we are here for a short period of 10, 15, of 70, 80, 100 years. So now, whether you are born or not, there is no recognition at all. Yeah, just like a small little speck of a dust that is there. But what happens is that this flow of Dharma and Adharma is going on all the time. So now it is left to us whether we join the stream of Dharma or we join the stream of Adharma. It's up to us. And in order to do that, we must know what is Dharma, so that we join the stream of Dharma. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that You can never do something right or something wrong. So right and wrong, they're always there. Now it's up to you to join whether the stream of truth or the stream of life. You join. It's not that you create anything. You just join. Once a father is rushing to a church in the morning, rushing to, because he was going to give a talk on compassion. And he saw somebody was lying down in the pool of blood, suffering, and then he needed help. Now the priest stood there, whether I should take care of him or not. Because if I take care of him, then I'll be delayed for the lecture. And if I'm delayed for the lecture, then people will be waiting. All that will happen. So therefore, I have to urgently go. But this man says, please take care of me. I know that you are going to give a talk on compassion. So you need to take care of me. Yeah. Okay, quickly tell me who you are. He says that I'm Saturn. I'm the Shani. See, opposite to God. And he is a father, temple priest for God, church. So therefore he says, now I should take care of you. And I should deny you. I should allow you to die. See, because he is sin. He is sin son, the Saturn son. So you should die. And then this person, this Saturn son who is suffering, he laughs. He says that, look, if I die, you cannot exist. You don't have any value. If I die, you don't have any value. So therefore, both these things are parallelly going on. It's up to us to see that how we can take the side of Dharma. So we should know what is Dharma so that we can take the side of Dharma. And this conflict we always go through. We always go through this conflict. Is it right to this way? Is it not right? What am I doing? You see, in order to understand that, we should know the depth of Dharma. See how important it is to know about the Sanathana Dharma. Locally, we work with that, saying that, okay, this is Dharma. No, this is not a Dharma. Doing this way, doing that way. Step in with the right leg, that's what is Dharma, not with the left leg. Hold it give it with the right hand, not with the left hand. Yeah. My son fights with that. Right leg, right hand according to you or according to me. And he says, my right hand is this side. Now, see, these questions, how simple these questions were. They look very silly. And it's so difficult, make somebody to give it with the right hand. It spills all over the serve. Yeah. Wow. So what are we doing? What are we setting up that? So that's why we need to understand what is Dharma. So that all these, at the small of the simple level to the highest level, we can find a solution for that. That's the reason why I said that in Sanatana Dharma, I'll be taking various ideas, what survives, but at the same time, I will welcome all kinds of questions, anything that is there on this face of earth that you think that you find a solution. Yes, we have it here.
Is Dharma equivalent to ethics?
I will come from that. Starts from that, right from that level. Even ethics is a little higher level, but even before that, what is that which sustains? See, let's go from that particular idea of Dharma, that which sustains. From that which sustains, we'll know what is the base level, what is that which sustains, how people have adapted that idea of sustains. See, from that level, we have to proceed. And every step that we take will have to be very measured because it establishes the importance of those things at that level. And one such aspect is ethics. Ethics is one in between, one step. But otherwise, that which sustains, from that level, we need to go from that. What sustains? And nature, it belongs to the nature. See, nature has a property to sustain. That's why nature is survival. If nature does not have the property to sustain, nature will not survive. Look at the way that, I've seen the sea turtles, they lay the eggs in the sand. And the mother goes away. No mother stays there. And the eggs hatch. The little turtles come out. And that too on a full moon, the early morning that they had. And then they all rush to the ocean. Who told them that the ocean is there? Who told them it is necessary for sustenance? But they go. That means nature has an ability to sustain. We need to understand that. At the turtle level, it may be very simple. Similarly, you put the seed. You put the seed, you don't think that the seed has to be upside down, downside up and down. There's nothing like that. But the seed knows that the roots it has to send downwards, the stem it has to send upwards. That's necessary for sustenance. We have never thought about it. That means how deeply nature worked on the sustenance. And only we create wars. We create people, eliminate people. Our ideology. Because we don't understand that sustenance is the essential feature of the nature. You have to do that. Like that, there are hundreds of examples of the nature I can show how nature has that ability to sustain. And if we don't understand that sustenance, Dharma, then we are fools. We have not done anything big. So that's why Sanatana Dharma, I have not yet started. I gave the introduction. Next week onwards, we go deep into it and then step by step, and see that how we take care of the things.
So you said nature is self-sustainable. Our internal system is also sustainable.
Absolutely right. Yes. Now we come to that. We are not left ourselves. The influence of outside is so strong.
You told about the seed, root.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, even if it is a fetus inside the womb.
Absolutely. See how it turns around the time. That's why Lata says every time that every case that I handle is a sense of wonder for me. It's unique.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why she handles hundreds of cases. But she says, I remember every child. And the mother comes and says that, you are given birth. Oh, I know, he came to that and she remembers that. Because that's creating. So that's why the Sanatana Dharma enters into the womb and then enters into the tomb. We have creation right from that level to the highest. That's one of the reasons why we have all these. You see, because we understand these things only, that we have extraordinary, wonderful creation we have done about all the Shodasha Samskaras, etc. All those things, because we want to continue the whole mankind. That's what I think.
So you said Dharma of fire, Dharma of water. So that is Panchamahabhuta. So there is Dharma of the mind, Dharma of the body.
At the level of matter, it becomes simpler. But higher the species, the complications are increasing. Look at the simple thing. When it comes to the rose plant, now which color rose you will get it, what type of rose you get it, there's a variety there, infinite variety. See, that means higher the species, already complications are there. When it comes to human being, complexity. That's why we not understand the human being level Dharma. It's so important. Like the way that the fire's nature is burning. People ask me then, what's my nature? That's why I say Swadharma. Not that simple. The stone's Dharma just stays there. But you are not stone.
nature is human being is
It's very such variety, it's complex. Such a complex structure, understanding is Sanathana Dharma.
So that is why we need so many sessions.
So many sessions.
Is there anyone having any doubt? Please unmute and ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Namaste, Raghuramji.
Namaste.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So basically, my point was, you are able to hear me, I suppose.
Yeah, I can hear. I'll tell the people.
Yeah.
Question.
So my point is, my basic doubt is there are so many texts available to us, the Pastanatraya, the Puranas,
Yes.
and then the epics, and sometimes it is very confusing for us to where to start, how to tackle these texts and scriptures. So I hope you will be covering these things also.
Yeah, I will tell the people your question, which I already just hinted that. Why I need to take up the Sanatana Dharma talk. His question is that there are so many Puranas are there, so many Upanishads are there, so many Shastras are there. Where to start? So, because that there are so many complicated things are there, that's why start with me. So that I am trying to give the overall picture of Sanatana Dharma. If you understand this, then all the other texts become easy. Whichever you take the text, or even if you have not read any text, because I have not read all those texts, whatever you say. But then I can see that what is the trend of all these texts that are leading us into. So that's why this Sanatana Dharma lecture series to give you the gist of all that, whatever that is said. Let me give you another important idea that Upanishad themselves are so tough. And that's the reason why Krishna gives Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And each chapter of Bhagavad Gita will say that Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyaya. That means Brahma Vidya and Upanishads are tough. So I will make it easy to give you in the form of Bhagavad Gita. But Bhagavad Gita itself is tough. So therefore, what Vyasa has done it, just 18 shlokas of each path of yoga, make it simpler. So like that, simplification is the way. These particular talks also should help us to see that. What is this basis of Sanatana Dharma? So that all those books, whatever that they cover, we give it in that direction. But most important thing that I am trying to give in this particular lecture series is that logically that I would like to give it, because this logic is the most important thing. Nowhere else in the world this logic was there. We have created this Nyaya Shastra, and Kapila Maharshi has given this Nyaya Shastra. So therefore, I will make use of this logic to explain about every aspect of this particular culture. There is nothing that in this culture will say that believe in this. Nothing like that. If you understand that, then it will help you.
Thank you.
So
Asking, anyone else asking?
nobody else is asking. I think we'll.
Nobody else is asking.
And I would actually request people to come in person here so that your questions, right away you can stop me and ask the question. So that any question is valid question. There's no irrelevant question you can ask. So feel free to ask the questions. And that if you do it in person, you will definitely get the clarification much better. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Prabhaji,